said, when Benny Boom and, you know, all those guys would come in, you know, it was just, I mean, that's they really, y'all really were part. Did y'all know from what you started during that time what you all would do in terms of, you know, defining culture and changing the paradigm of how music videos were shot, especially from the hip hop perspective?
Yeah, I think, you know, it was a great time. You know, it was an era of wonderful music to choose from, a lot of diversity, and it was blowing up all over the country. You know what I mean? Like you know, Atlanta was going, Houston was going, New York, LA, of course, Chicago. Like it was just there was a lot of opportunity back then, and I feel like, you know, most of those young directors that you mentioned, you know, all of us just loved the culture and wanted to represent it as best as we could, you know. And I feel like when you're in it, you're not really thinking about history or whatever. You're just in it, and you're just trying to make the best work that you can make with what you're given, you know. And I mean, we really did it. Like looking back on it, you know, there's so many of us that stayed in the game and kept pursuing what the real dream for most of us was to make feature films, you know. But as things change, it's like there's so many more things than feature films. There's television, there's docs, there's branded entertainment, there's web series, there's, you know what I mean? There's so much more. There's so many more things to make now than there were at the time, you know? And it's cool to just see, you know, man, it's not easy to survive as a filmmaker. You know what I'm saying? Like if you were making videos in the 90s and you still have a career now in 2021, I mean, you should pat yourself on the back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, what were some of the challenges that you have? Like, what are some of the main challenges that you filmmakers have?
In terms of making the oh, you know what? Hey, guess what I heard? I heard
What's
Xzibit
that?
is in the queue. I asked Xzibit to join us. Might be nice to talk about music videos right there. Can you guys tap him in?
He's on the board now?
Sure.
Yeah.
X, hit one to come in the host queue if you've already dialed a number. Hit one to come in.
Yeah, I'm already in.
What it do?
I'm already in.
What's up, dude?
Hey, man, this nigga Rashidi being modest, man. He being modest. I hear this nigga talking, man. He being modest.
Oh, man.
Hey, man, listen.
Here's my brother.
I met Rashidi at Unity, and we was doing Hennessy shots, watching Wu-Tang Clan. Don't let this nigga fool you with that bullshit. This is a real nigga, man. Before he was a filmmaker, he's a real nigga.
Unity is a classic spot in LA, man, in the LA history. Rest in peace to Bigger B. So many people, man, helped create this thing that is West Coast hip hop, and there's so many levels to it. And yeah, me and X doing Hennessy shots at Unity.
Oh, right.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Man, look, X, we gotta call Uncle Tash up and let him know that, because we've had Tash on the show, so we gotta let Tash know that you would stop through and whatnot. Man, I mean, part of Liquid.
That's
a
surprise.
Matter of fact, I sent Rashidi some stuff to send to you, and I told him I got more where that came from. Rashidi X, when y'all got together, and I guess because ultimately, you know, X would feature on this, because X, you are originally from Detroit, so I know Detroit has a special place for you as well. Rashidi, when you got the idea to do this documentary, what was it like getting everybody there? Because and shout out to W.K. Edward, you know, great friend of ours.
Yep.
You know, we know this was a labor of love. That, I mean, look, you got X, you got Trick, dude, you got Dr. Dre in this. I mean, you know, that had to be hell. I mean,
you know what, man? It was there's a lot of relationships involved. You know, hip hop is very insular in that way. You know, it's like you fuck with people that fuck with you. And Dre and Xzibit have always fucked with me since we met. And you know, I made that call, and they came down and they answered, and they, you know, really added a lot of perspective and light on what this business is. You know, we don't get to talk about the behind the scenes and some of the things that rappers experience and go through. You know, everybody just sees the shows and, you know, the videos and stuff like that, but like it's a challenging thing to try to maneuver and create a career over a long period of time that still matters. You know, that's a very, very hard thing to do. So, you know, a lot of it is relationships, and with the series, man, we just had a story and an angle on the story we were trying to tell, and I think everybody that joined in with us, they got the story. They got the importance of the streets, and they knew who our people were, you know, and they wanted to participate.
Rashidi, that's such, Rashidi Next, and that's such a big thing because, of course, with hip hop culture, you know, from, you know, we look at it from where it started, you know, in earnest, August 16th, I believe, 1976, 1520, you know, out in the Bronx. You know, DJ Kool Herc, 1520 Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx, you know, is where it started. You know, and of course, we saw this progression, you know, of course, with the Sugar Hill Gang, 78, you know, Def Jam starting in 84, you know, shout out to Rick Rubin and Russell Simmons. You know, we saw the history, you know, we saw it from Politically Active, you know, with Public Enemy and KRS, X-Clan, you know, we saw it from the streets. Shout out to Ice-T representing, you know, Five Deuce Hoover, you know, we've seen it from with NWA, straight out of Compton, you know, got to shout out, you know, Kelly Park, you know, I mean, and then we would just see this just progress, you know, especially from the West Coast in the late 80s, early 90s and beyond. So you all really, once you all really got a foothold in it, really gave hip-hop another dimension and gave it a style. You gave it an attitude, you gave it a perspective, you gave it a story. And this all builds to what you would have over 30 years later with this documentary, because so much of it, you know, hip-hop gets a bad rap from so many things that go on, but people forget. All of us are human first. And I thought what you all showed in it was such a beautiful humanization, such a candid and real portrait of not only people in their profession, but in their personal lives as well, their feelings, their aspirations, everything they went through to get to where they are. How important was you to make sure that everything was presented and depicted in such a real fashion?
It was super important. You know, one of the main goals we wanted to do was make sure everybody was humanized and treated with respect, you know. The thing I kept thinking about was, you know, I'm not the same person that I was at 19, you know, and I try not to let mistakes I've made in my life define me. And I don't want to say that our characters made mistakes, but they made choices in their lives, and we sort of started with those choices because those are the things that were real in the crack era, you know, the choices that they had to make. But I didn't want people to get caught up on that and sort of make a judgment about who they were as human beings. And that was probably one of the biggest things that I wanted to achieve in the making of this, was to say, hey man, people, we all grow up, we all learn lessons in life, and we wanted to show the arc of the music through the arc of our characters' lives and show how they grew and developed, you know? And when you get to the end of the series, you sort of realize, oh man, this is about something that's even bigger than music, you know, when you talk about the influence that all of these people in this doc have on their communities, you know what I mean? And the way, you know, even X, man, X is I mean, I won't speak for Xzibit, but he can speak for himself. It's like, you know, he's grown up a lot in this business, you know, and that's what we wanted to show, you know.
X, I'm going to send, X, I got a surprise for you because I'm going to send Rashidi this. It was actually, it's one of your, I believe it was in the Source magazine 1996 when you had the bald head with the gloves on. I actually have that issue.
For sure.
I'm going to send him that picture.
They did a write-up on me in the Source, and that was kind of like my first introduction to actually being known as a professional MC. It's crazy.
Yeah, I still have that issue. I'll send.
So we still have I still have the Speed of Life hard copy. The Speed of Life hard copy album.
Yes, myself too.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate that.
Man, look, we've been following you and the Liquid Crew for such a long time, man. I mean, even going back to the days with King T, I believe that was actually one of your first appearances on Wax on his For Life album. I believe that was your first appearance. Yeah, that was your first appearance. I mean, I mean, this is just such
it's a beautiful moment, man. Let's go over what it is.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful moment, man. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
As a matter of fact, me and Tash is good friends.
Absolutely. I get it, man. It's been a journey. It's been a lot of work. But more than anything, it's been a labor of love because I love what I do, and even when I didn't understand the business, I still had a love for hip hop that drew me to it and allowed me to be creative and kick and scream and not hurt myself or anyone else. Because when you come to something like this and able to be accepted as a creative, now you're in a place where, it's up to you to guide your ship. And so I've been around, people like Rashidi, people like Dr. Dre, people like Snoop, people like M. It's been a crazy, crazy journey because I'm a fan of these people before I even get to become myself. So then to be aligned with these people and then be able to express myself the way I have, and then and see how it's just like transferred and transitioned into other things, film, TV, other businesses. It's been crazy, because this is something that I've dreamed of, but I just didn't know it was going to be this. Hip hop saved my life.
And it's crazy because Busta Rhymes said, I believe it was on the Grammys or the Billboard Award years ago, he said if it wasn't for hip hop, a lot of people wouldn't have jobs. And it's one thing about it because when you have a lot of these artists, because, we're older, so we watched a lot of y'all work. So we grew up just as y'all were growing up. This is a bug out in terms of all the stars aligning because we are actually talking to the people that we grew up watching and had so much respect for and still do. And we're so happy to see that transition. I mean, Rashidi, you were doing music videos, and now you have the hottest show on FX. From the Liquid Crew, to having your, open bar entertainment, being one of the most ferocious MCs, to becoming an actor, and just doing other endeavors.
That transition is beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't come here to suck. You know what I'm saying? We didn't come here to suck, bro.
Exactly. Here to tear it down, not to suck. Nobody sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm a proud alumni graduate from the school of Dr. Dre. And so, I feel like everything that I learned as an artist, like Dre tells us one thing when we start working together. Your outside studio activities got to be just as good as your inside, because if you go outside and you mess it up and you're not allowed to express yourself the way you want to in art because you're such a dickhead outside the studio, then it's all for shit. So we had to groom ourselves to the excellence that he exerted. And so once we understood what that was, then it became like very easy to maintain the status that we had, you know, and still be seen as legacy artists and not just a flash in the pan. And so that was important to us, and that's why Rashidi is shining the way he is right now, and he's able to create at the level that he's creating with Malcolm and everybody else that got involved in the series. It's because everybody believes in what we're doing. If this is not a job to us, this is our lives. This is how we maintain, you know, our creative prowess, and it also gives us a reason to get up in the morning. Like, I don't have nothing else except, you know, my soul and my creativity. You know, everything else comes in line. We don't do this for money. We don't do this for credit. We don't do this for accolades. We do this because we love it. And that's why, you know, me and Rashidi gel so well. We've done several projects together, and to see this brother get on with FX and have a nationwide hit is I'm not surprised. Don't get fucked up. I'm not surprised. This is what we do. This is how we express ourselves, and it's just at such a high level that the world stands up and recognizes, and that's what we do. That's what it's all about.
And it's wild too, because what it is there's an energy, right? And we all feed off of each other's energy. And you can't be in rooms with Dr. Dre and Snoop and all these different people that we're in rooms with and not feel like you got to bring your A game at all times with anything that you do. You know what I mean? And most of us as individuals, we already had that mentality. You know what I mean? So when you get multiple people in a room or in a space and the opportunity that have the opportunity or create the opportunity to be creative, everybody's already at a high bar and trying to like keep that bar as high as you can. You know what I mean? So it's a mindset and it's an approach. And like X said, none of it was ever for the money. You know what I mean? Like, the money is just something that comes along with it. But that thing that you get in your spirit, like how I feel right now, knowing that I made something that's going to stand the test of time and be looked back on 20, 40 years from now, because we captured a thing, we documented a story through hip-hop, you can't, I mean, I'm like incredibly proud to have made something like, I've been waiting my whole life to make something like this, to give a gift back to hip hop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And you know, I mean, we gotta, I mean, because the cinema of the African American experience, you know, people try to pigeonhole us in one aspect, but our history is so, you know, it's so deep. Our culture is so rich. Our achievements are so diversified in every aspect of the world. Lena Waithe, Spike Lee, you know, she even shout out to Baron Davis when he did the Made in America Bloods and Crips documentary. I mean, Ava DuVernay. I mean, the list goes on. You are following, and of course we can't. Yes. The Hughes brothers. We can't, and of course, me being from Virginia, you know, South Side, 2 Up, 2 Down, putting it all around town. We can't forget, you know, Tim Reed, you know, and of course, Oscar Micheaux. We cannot forget him either. Oscar Micheaux, the first African American to have his own film studio. I mean, you all are following in such a distinguished thespian, you know, and an academia of, you know, film study and filming. I mean, and of course the late great Sean Singleton. You know, we can't forget him. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, how important is it for us to be able to tell our own stories without somebody telling it for us?
I mean, I think it's vital. You know, I don't feel like, I feel like everybody should be able to tell all kinds of stories, but we've got such a long history of people telling our stories for us that it's like past time for us to just be in control of as much of our story as we can, which is really all of it. It just depends on it's, you know, where you take the money from. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
it's like at the end of the day, I know for me, for with Hip Hop Uncovered, the one thing I was always clear about is that there was nobody outside of our immediate team that really knew more about hip hop than us. So what could anybody really tell us? You know what I mean? We're already coming in the door with 5 people that most people haven't heard of outside of the industry. You know what I mean? So it's like there's really nothing for them to say, really. You know what I mean? And I want to really give credit to FX for allowing us and giving us the space to really just say what we wanted to say and not interfere. Do you know what I mean? Like, they were very, very respectful to the creative process. And when you're trying to tell something as ambitious as Hip Hop Uncovered is, you really do need that space to create. You need people to not step on things and step into spaces that they really don't even fully understand, you know? So it was definitely a great time.
Yeah, and the scale, and as you said, the scale, the scope, the dimensions, the diversification, you know, from all sides, you know, from Detroit, the Midwest, you know, interviewing Deborah Anthony, you know, from New York. I mean, of course, taking it back home to L.A. I mean, you know, you all really showed, because the tagline was from it, the Kingmakers. And, of course, we can't forget the OG himself, Big U.
Yeah.
The bridge.
You know, yeah. I mean, tell us about that relationship you and Big U have.
You know, our relationship started probably in 2016 when we all kind of got together, Jimmy Chris and Malcolm Spellman and Big U and myself and Doug Banker, you know, sort of set out on this journey to make this series. And along the way, it sort of developed into what people see now, but it was a long journey, you know. And at first, you know, I think the thing people have to understand is it's like, as much as we watch TV or stream or whatever, all the content we see all over the place, there's so much of it that you don't think about how hard it is to get something on television. Like, it just seems like there's so much on television, it must be easy to get something on, but it took a good 3.5 years before we got our situation at FX. And in between that time, there were a lot of rejections, a lot of no's, a lot of revamping the idea. You know, the one thing that remained consistent was the people who we wanted to form the series around, and that's Big U, Trick Trick, Bimmy, Deb, Haitian Jack, and originally we had Jay Prince as well. And Jay Prince ultimately didn't work out, but we still managed to make something epic and, you know, tell these stories that most people hadn't heard about.
Yeah,
so,
but yo, Rashidi, check this out. I think what they're missing is you're explaining the corporate part, but I think what's really special about what you guys did is that you got people that usually would stay in the background. You would never know these people because they're not artists.
Right.
These are real active people that have problems trusting other people. So to get them to trust you to tell their stories and tell it to the world, even though they're still active in what they're doing, was a feat in itself. So it's not about, you know, just getting it on TV. It's about having these people that otherwise you would never hear of or you have any association with, and getting them to open up to the entire planet. That was amazing.
No, that's real. I'm glad. I'm glad you said that because that was the original question, was about Big U. So he and I, you know, we had to learn each other. You know, he had to learn to trust me. I had to try to get him to open up, and none of it was easy. I think it started getting easier once I had a cut that I could show him, hey, this is where we're going. You know what I mean? And once he saw that, and it was like way better than he expected, which is also funny to me, right? Like, I know me, and I forget that people don't know me. You know what I mean? Like, they don't know that I'm trying to fucking kill it every single thing I get my hands on. And, like, my taste level is fucking at the ceiling. You know what I mean? And so when he saw it and he was saying, wow, this is way better than I thought it would be, to me, I'm like, oh, man, well, what did you think it was going to be? You know what I mean? and it's interesting because you realize that that's the tricky thing about having a vision and something that is hard to articulate because people have to see things. But once everybody started seeing early cuts, then they were like, oh, shit, I see where this is going. Okay, I got it. And I explained, hey, these first couple episodes, it's going to be the grimy shit. But we're gonna show the evolution of your story, how how all of them started in one place and then evolved to something else that was even bigger than their individual stories. You know what I mean?
Right. And like Xzibit said in this song, which is Xzibit, from the bottom of King and myself, hearts, and the hip hop nation, because we use this as a reference to what I'm about to say, the foundation. Xzibit, you have no idea how much that song has touched us over the years. Thank you. I
appreciate it, man. Thank you. Yeah, man. You don't have to sell the truth. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to do it. People listen to music and find a way to relate to it, to enjoy it, to dance to it, to whatever. But like for me, like I can only speak from my experience and the songs like Foundation, songs that really like dive into introspective looks at ourselves is what I thrive on. I can do the bitch pleases and the front to backs, but really out of my catalog, the songs that really mean a lot to me are really like introspective records, so that means a lot, man. Thank you.
Yeah, like Sorry I'm Away So Much, and of course, Hearts of Man, those were, some gems, some underground gems as well.
Hey, T-Max.
Hey,
T-Max, you forgot, one of my favorite songs that Exton did to me was, the music business with Razzcast, because y'all really broke down the dark side of the music business before a lot of people started doing it.
Yeah. Shout out to Raz and Carson, man.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, man. Yep. I think we were all trying to find ourselves at the time. It was a really vibrant time in hip hop when we came out. West Coast was definitely making a mark, especially because after Death Row and after the introduction of what West Coast hip hop could be and what it looked like, the West Coast lyricists started taking out their tag. So we had, like, up north we had Souls of Mischief, we had Dale, we had Casual, and then coming down to Southern California, you know what I'm saying? Coming down to Southern California, you had Golden State, B. Rass and Saphir. You had, Freestyle Fellowship. You've had Volume 10. All these other lyricists that were coming out that didn't sound like the traditional West Coast hip hop gangster rap. We were called the lyricists. So it was different, even though we had the elements of what that is. Crooked Eye out of Long Beach. Like, these are things that came out of the result of what was happening in hip hop, period. And so we had this huge platform in front of us, and so we were able to go out there and actually have a shot. And it's just a testament to how long we've been trying to do this and actually been successful. So it's dope to be able to see where it's turned into now. I think the biggest difference between when we came out then and now is like the middleman is out of the way. You have a direct connect to your fans. It's about how can you connect to them, how can you get them to relate to you in real time. And this is like really, really dope to be able to see how Rashidi has taken that same aspect with the middleman being out the way and be able to tell the stories because they can't tell these stories. It's a difference between
Exactly.
So it's a difference between, you know, us talking about ourselves and other people talking about us, because we've had more of the other than the latter. You know what I'm saying? It's been crazy because now we're in a place where, bro, you got to come to us to get the real. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the beauty of what they did, man. They just like nobody else could have did this except them. You know what I'm saying? Like Rashidi, Malcolm, they put their foot in this shit, and I was glad to be a part of it. I was glad to see the people that we respect and the people that we know about be given the light and the flowers that they deserve.
And one thing about it, yeah, go ahead, King.
No, I was just following what X was saying. I was saying amen to that, because it's about getting the people that we grew up and admired their flowers, because in hip-hop, man, it's like we don't treat our legends right. So it's a great thing for that show to showcase what they put down.
Yeah, you know, and this was King's vision from when he started, you know, Off the Cuff Radio 7 years ago. We're fastly approaching 400 shows. To have this on the path to 400 is just past incredible for us. I'm so privileged and humbled to be part of this for the past 4 years. And, you know, this has been a journey. You know, X, what you said about how the middleman has been cut out. I mean, Rashidi, we can't thank you enough because, I mean, when, you know, I reached out to you, you were all in for this. You know, and back in the day, you know, King, you know, we've had so many guests on our show. We always joke on the show with our guests about how back in the day, about how you had to jump through like 500 different hoops, you know, to try to get in touch with somebody.
Yellow Pages.
Social media. Yeah.
Well, what's so great about this moment and what's so great about shows like yours, you know, and I want to thank you brothers for even having this platform for us to come and talk about the series on. It's like you guys clearly care about the series. It's the thing that X was talking about. You guys can go direct to the audience and the people that love this music and culture and give them access that they don't have. And the reason why I jumped on this opportunity when you guys reached out was because it's like I come from an era where, you know, like you had to know to know. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like when X said we first met at Unity, like you had to know what Unity was, or that it was even out there. Like you had to know hip hop to even know to go to that place. And I just like to honor that, man, because you guys are so important. Because you're storytellers yourselves through this music and through platforms like this, bringing people like us on to talk about what's happening in the music today, you know. And our doc series, you know, the biggest blessing was reading them comments, man, and just all of the people that this series spoke to, all the people that said stuff like, man, I've been waiting for something like this. You know what I mean? Like that's priceless, man. So kudos to y'all, man, for allowing us to come on here and talk about the show, and for continuing the path of hip-hop, because that's what this shit has always been, some grassroots shit. You know what I mean?
Dude, you know it don't stop past this show because we're aligned with your movement, you know. Like I told you, you know, like King told you, whatever y'all need, you know, and we're behind you 1,000% with it. One thing about it, you know, with the show, because on so many aspects, because Dre, who is just like beyond mega legend, you know, Dre doesn't normally do a lot of interviews. That story, you know, to talk to him was one thing. But one thing about it, like what X was saying about the stories with a lot of people, there was one story that really caught my attention, was the Haitian Jack story. Because, and I'll say my age on there, because I like to, because I got to let people know how far I go back with it. I'm 43 years old. So when I've heard about Haitian Jack ever since I was 16, 15 years old. And a lot of him was shrouded in mystery in terms of, because we know he was real out in the New York street. That was always, you know, you will never hear bitch and Haitian Jack in the same sentence unless he slapped up one. You know, male or female, you know. He was that dude. But there was a lot of him that we did not know. What was that like to talk to him about his whole life story and everything like that in terms of just...
Before I get into that, man, hey, X, I don't want to hold you, bro. Like, I appreciate you chiming in.
No, man, all good. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it, man. I got to roll out. But, yo, man, thanks for having me. Thanks for giving my man flowers, man. This shit is dope, man. Thank you.
Yes, man.
Man,
Look,
no problem, bro.
You know, X, you know you're welcome on the show anytime, too, as well, man. You know, so, you know, hey, anytime you want to come on and we have a sit-down, you know, we're more than happy to have you on, man.
Oh, no problem, man. I'm here. Yep.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, X. I'll talk to you soon, bro.
Appreciate you, X. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
Rashidi.
you.
All right.
Appreciate you.
All right.
Hey, so with Jack, man, it's like you said, Jack was always sort of a figure with a lot of mystique. You know, maybe a name that it was a name that probably many people didn't hear about until Tupac put the record out. But if you were in the industry, you maybe heard his name once or twice, or if you were from New York, and you were hanging out on the scene, you definitely heard his name. But I think with him, what was so fascinating and awesome from the filmmaking point of view is that he really was ready to give his side of the story. You know, this dude went through a couple of decades of people just sort of slandering his name and not even knowing what really happened, like taking, you know, Pac's lyrics as fact, you know, and then Pac being dead, you know what I mean? The thing I think about in the series, he says Pac would have never put that record out while he was alive. You know what I mean? Because he knew he would have had to deal with Jack. You know, like it's one thing to be in the studio and make a song, right? It's another thing to put it out, you know, and then it's another thing to deal with the consequences of having put that out, you know?
Right.
So for me, it was fascinating to have the opportunity to watch Jack just sort of tell his perspective. I think that's what's so valuable, you know, and then to see the dude and you know, like just check him out. Like he's nothing like I thought he doesn't look like what I thought he looked like. Nothing. Like nothing about him is like what I thought from what I heard in the streets. You know what I mean? Or in the industry, I should say. I didn't hear about him in the streets, but you know, in the industry, what I heard about him. So it was a great opportunity and privilege to be able to tell his story and watch him give his perspective.
Now let me shoot this question to you Now let me shoot this question to you here now. So this is the fair part about not only filmmaking but journalism, is that sometimes you're hearing sides of the story or covering different characters that even when you hear these stories, a lot of people may not like the narrative of how that person is telling it. And with you bringing Jack up there, did you guys get any flack with a lot of the Tupac fans, because they're crazy?
We were always aware that we probably would get flack from the Tupac fans, but so far it hasn't been as crazy as I thought it might be. I mean, how can you? Who can really? Like, none of us were there, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like none of us were there, so who really knows? It's just funny to me, and this was one of Jack's points. It was like, man, some of the people that are in these comments, they weren't even alive when this shit was happening.
Right.
But they be speaking with so much passion and so much fact, like they know. And that's how big the legend is, which is so awesome. You know what I mean? So I don't think we were... I mean, you know, you're not going to be able to change people's mind. People think what they want to think at the end of the day. You know, I just thought it was fascinating to have Jack tell his side of the story and then, you know, let everything else play out how it normally plays out, you know?
But you know one thing, Rashidi, I think,
yeah, what I like about what you brought with the show is that it shows that you have solid individuals that's not with the weirdo shit. Meaning that, you know how when Big U was talking about how people were thinking that he killed Nipsey Hussle, set Nipsey Hussle up or whatever. I like the fact that you guys had him on there to set that weirdo stuff straight, because, you know, everybody loves a conspiracy and everybody loves speculation. So that was a good part of the documentary that you guys put in, you know, put that weirdo stuff in perspective. Like, we in a weirdo era. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I think people are misinformed, and people, when they don't have the specific answers from whatever source it is that they trust, maybe they just run with whatever makes the most sense to them, you know? But I think you have to really, really think about some of the things. It's like, this man really did have a relationship with Nipsey. You know what I mean? Like, and they had ups and downs, like all friendships do, you know? So, I don't know, man. It's like, again, it's one of those things where you're listening to a person's perspective. You know, what do they say? There's three sides to the story: your side, my side, and the truth. I mean, that's kind of what it is, you know.
And one thing about it, Rashidi, is this, because one thing that was so imperative that you all just hit the nail on the head with what you did was the academic, you know, with academics, because you studied it, the integrity of the honor of what you did, and more than anything, you know, keeping it all factual and not speculative. You know, everything was told from explaining, but it was not exploitative. And that was the most essential part of it, because, you know, we've interviewed a lot of people over the years, you know, that knew Pac, you know, personally. Shout out to DJ King Assassin, you know, Richie Rich, you know, all those guys, you know, our Bay Area family, you know, we, you know, and they've told us those stories, you know, there are things that we know, there are things that we don't know, there are things that we've heard, and there are things that have been speculated on. But one thing about it is that, you know, that's always been a firestorm, you know, in terms of it. Me and King talk about that situation sometimes because of what Jack said about had he knew what about that song Hit 'Em Up when it came out. I was 17.
Against all odds.
Against all odds, yeah. You know, but Against All Odds, right. I was thinking of something. Of course, I was thinking of Biggie. I don't know why, but yeah, Against All Odds. But it's like, you know, but when he put that out, that was in '96.
Yeah.
You know, off of the Don Illuminati, you know, the 7 Day Theory. So it's like we heard that and we were like, yo, I mean, we were like, this guy's he wants all the static, the smoke, the lightning. Shit.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Pac was a very passionate person, you know what I mean? And part of his gift was his ability to translate his energy into lyrics and to put them onto a track and deliver them in a way that all of us felt, you know? I mean, I had the pleasure of meeting him once, and, you know, amazing dude, you know what I mean? Like, definitely, man, I actually met him and Biggie on separate occasions. You know, I met Pac in L.A., and I met Biggie in Brooklyn, like, right before the blow-up. And what's crazy is when I met Biggie, which was super random, later that night, like, I didn't know who he was, obviously, but later that night I saw him performing at a club, and him and Pac were performing together. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it was just like all these different experiences that I've had and all these people that I've been able to meet over the course of my career. It's just amazing, man. Again, it's why I was so happy to do this series and get it off the ground, because there's so much more to explore in our culture of hip-hop, you know. But I think we also have to be careful of not making it like the only thing that black culture has to talk about is hip-hop, because there's so much more outside of hip-hop to talk about as well, you know.
Right.
Man, look, you know, when we look at the business aspect of it, in terms of, you know, shout out to Uncle E, you know, E40 out in Vallejo, 707 Stand Up, you know, what he's done with his Fat Burger, you know, franchises, you know, the Slurry King, you know, Earl Stevens. I mean, you're looking at Master P, you know, in terms of how he diversified, you know, back in the day in terms of doing his clothing line, you know, when he had his sports agency. You know, shout out to my man Jeezy, CTE Stand Up, Boo Rossini, Snoop 11, DJ Ace, Sheldon G, you know, the whole squad. You know, Jeezy, you know, with his Worth of Conversation podcast, you know, and he's got his agency 99, you know, sports, you know, an entertainment company. So we've seen this, you know, I mean, and even going back over 30 years, you know, when you started seeing, you know, Queen Latifah, you know, LL Cool J, you know, Ice-T, you know, Ice Cube, you know, when they were starting their acting endeavors, you know what I'm saying? It's like we were seeing this nascent evolution of expansion from the culture in all aspects to show we were not monolithic. We were not one-dimensional. We were multi-talented. We were multifaceted. We had aspirations, dreams, and hopes that extended beyond the chosen genre that, you know, artists had performed in. How important was it for us to, from your perspective as a director and an aficionado of the culture and a curator and you know, a man who is who's basically hit legendary status in terms of being one of the repositories, the griot of all things great in the culture. How important is it that we have been able to expand our vision and our presence in business as well as entertainment?
It's crucial, you know. It's crucial, the expansion that's happened. You know, but there's still a lot of room to grow in that expansion, you know. And I think one of the things that we have to do is stop putting like an age limit on what hip hop is and making it like exclusively like a young thing. It's like it is a young thing, 1,000%, but it's a young thing that can also grow into adulthood and midlife and beyond, and that's why I'm happy that the generation that I'm from is sort of, they keep pushing that boundary on age. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, maybe Jay-Z isn't putting records out at the pace he was when he first got started, you know, with Rockefeller, but it's like, man, dude put out 10, 11 albums worth of stuff, like that many years in a row. And let's get beyond the music. Like what he's done outside of the music is fantastic. And same with Dre and Puff and everybody. Like those are the extremes, right? But to me, it's like, it's also beautiful to know that, you know, Pharoah Monch is still dropping an album, or Xzibit is doing a collaboration with Be Real from Cypress Hill, and you know, working with all the different people. You know, it's like we don't have to limit ourselves. Like one of the things, I wish Andre 3000 was still doing stuff. Like I wish he hadn't got in his head that, you know, oh, well, I don't want to be rapping at 40. It's like, yo, man, we need to hear what you're thinking at 40.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We need to hear your experience. Like, it doesn't have to stop, is what I'm saying. And I also feel like, that extension is sort of what my partner Malcolm and I are trying to do, is like, let's look at our music and culture with a little bit more of a critical eye. Like, it's cool to celebrate it, but let's also explore it. Like, is everything that we do cool? Is all of it okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's explore it. Let's look at it from a different perspective. You know, we all know that we all love it, but that doesn't mean we can't critique it. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean things can't be better, you know? So I like where hip-hop is going right now. I like the expansion that's happening. I like that there's a Mount Westmore project that's about to drop at some point, you know, with Cube and Too Short and Snoop and 40. You know, it's like, why put an age on this shit? Creativity is endless. It's timeless, bro, you know?
And one thing about it I think is so important, because we talked on the show so much about it, Rashidi, is that especially because King will tell you, I will tell you, I'm a Griselda stan. Shout out to Benny the Butcher, you know, West Side Gun, you know, Conway the Machine, you know, shout out to City Boy, you know, Heem, Rick Hyde, you know, Armani Caesar, that whole Griselda, BSF clique, Vino Blanco, everybody. And those guys, you know, Benny, Westside, and Conway are older. And I'm like, because I got on them about a couple of years ago, really seriously, and was listening to them. And I'm like, these motherfuckers is crazy on the microphone. I'm like, good
Especially
Lord.
just by looking at what caught me with Griselda, see, it isn't really only about what they rap about. Because, you know, no idea is original. There's nothing new under the sun. But those covers that those niggas had, like, you know, with the Hitler covers and all, I'm like, yo, and the wrestling covers, I said, what is these niggas on? So let me see what they talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it took
their creativity
out the box.
Yeah, they're creative, and they sort of are returning to a little bit of the grime. You know what I'm saying? Like the you know, the edgy shit, man, the edgy street shit, man, that makes you feel a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Like I love those dudes, man. It's you know, man, it's a great time in hip hop, man. It's a great time, man. It's still it's almost like we're looking at it from man, we're just looking at it. We're able to look back 40 plus years. First of all, that's amazing. You know, when you really remember in the 80s, man, like they kept saying for the first decade of hip hop that it was a fad. You know what I mean? It was a fad that wasn't going to be around. And so, to me, knowing that, it's awesome to be able to look back 40 plus years while it's in its strongest position ever, you know?
Growing up for you, what was the first song on the West Coast that made you fall in love with hip-hop?
The first song was Rapper's Delight. You know, that was like the first song I ever heard, the first time I ever heard a rap, you know. Outside of that, if you're talking about a West Coast record, man, it could have been anything from like anything by Egyptian Lover, you know what I mean? Egypt was something, you know what I mean?
We're going back to the days of the Palladium, I believe. The skate, all the skate, what was that skating rink y'all had out there?
It was there were a couple. There was Skateland in Compton. Yeah. There was World on Wheels in LA. I was closer to World on Wheels. But like anything like Toddy T, like the Bataram record, I remember, and I remember Rodney O and Joe Cooley.
Yeah, ready to roll. Yeah.
You know, people like that is who stand out to me. You know.
You know, one thing about it too, man, because you know because King and myself, we're just nerds with this shit. One of the illest documentaries, still not better than yours though, but shout out to A&E for what they did with a Compton documentary a couple years ago, some years back, which was dope. Because I love the fact that they were profiling a lot of they did of course Game and Kendrick, but you know, shout out to Compton AD, you know, Wacko, you know, City of Grind Clothing,
OG Suicide.
OG Suicide, all of them, you know, they were featured on it. And you know, and to see the West Coast, because one thing about it, man, you know, whether you from East 97, whether you from Crenshaw, Slauson, whether you from 60, whether you from, Compton Boulevard, Rosecrans, whether you, from Western, Figueroa, one thing about, Broadway, there's so many, one thing we always saw was your hood really, really, really out there really could stamp you in terms of what you represented. And I can't forget the Bay Area. Shout out to San Jose, Richmond, Vallejo, Oakland. I mean, the movement out there is like, we, got a saying out there, and don't nobody hustle harder than the Bay. I mean, but it's just how y'all do it out there. I mean, to just see the independence of which you all move, because a lot of you knew each other before you all became famous. So it was just a perfect storm once you all became famous and were in those same circles in an expanded fashion, to just see everything move. But one thing I've always respected about y'all out there, man, is the hustle. I mean, y'all hustle is just insane. I mean, in terms of how y'all can do it from the hood, move your music, your videos, whatever, and it don't got to go national for it to be, acclaimed or respected. You got that hood respect right there, and everybody else at the end is trying to catch up on what y'all already knew the whole time.
Yeah, but I think that's what's so beautiful about the music, right, especially now, is that you can have a career in your own city, in your own region.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And beyond, because there's the internet now, And so,
right.
like, when I think about early hip-hop, I think about how different the sounds were in every region, because you couldn't be influenced by all the different regions because you didn't have access to all of them. So obviously at first everybody was influenced by New York, but then as time went on, people started just having their own versions of what hip hop sounded like, and I think that's kind of dope. You know what I mean? Like that's the blueprint, man. They say if your hood don't fuck with you, why should anybody else?
And that's what Dre told Game. When they interviewed Game in the Compton documentary, when Dre had that sit down with Game, and he was like, "Is your hood fucking with you?" Game was like, "Yeah, my hood fucking with me." And Dre was like, "Good, because if your hood don't fuck with you, the world won't fuck with you."
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's a fact.
And shout out to, and I know I do it on a lot of shows, but I'm gonna do it again. Damn it! Shout out to that young California movement, Honest Along, daughter of the great legendary cocaine repping Pomona. Shout out to Cam and China representing Inglewood. Shout out to MB Mel, representing Northern California out of Richmond. Shout out to Stupid Young representing Long Beach. Shout out to Mozzie representing 916 Sacramento. Shout out to P Nice. Shout out to Compton AV. Shout out to G Perico representing Broadway. I mean, y'all are doing it. Yes. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. It's a lot. It's a lot going on out here. What's happening in Virginia? Like, who's popping out that way?
We got a couple artists. One artist by the name. We got an artist by the name of Brown Sugar. She's bubbling out here. My man Hustle. He's managing her. Got an artist by the name of Young Crazy. He's representing Hunterville. He's doing his thing. We got a couple. This. Really moving. It's just. Just basically just trying to push culture forward. Of course, we got the legends, that came from here, Missy, Timbaland, Pharrell, Bink, Nas, of course, Ella Fitzgerald representing Newport News, rest in peace, the legendary jazz singer. A lot of people don't know Wayne Newton. He's from Richmond, Virginia. If I got my facts right, Wayne Newton is synonymous with Las Vegas, acts. I think Wayne is originally from Richmond, Virginia. So one thing about it, you know, we got a history out here too, you know, and it's just we're just, you know, constantly doing what we're doing, trying to push forward with it, you know, and just you know, get out there. It's just a matter of the
right person kicking that door down.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. It's like y'all definitely got
Can't forget
the producers.
Can't forget Pusha.
Yeah,
T in the
Pusha, and
yeah,
for sure. Pusha T is
yeah.
Wow. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I just love how he sounds on a record, you know. But production wise, I mean, Bink and Knots, I mean, they make some fucking slappers, bro. Those dudes are really talented for sure. You know, I mean, we know about Timbaland and Pharrell, obviously, but yeah, man, I just was wondering what was happening lately. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And North Carolina started to bubble a little bit too, because we got J. Cole. He's doing the Dreamville imprint, so he's doing his thing out there. I want to shout out my man Madison J. He's one of the dopest out here.
Man, I want to, if we shout out North Carolina, I want to shout out my guy Mez. Mez is like an amazing MC. We got to work together. We met through Dre, but he's been doing a lot of work with J. Cole. You'll probably find him on J. Cole's new album that's coming out, I think next week or whenever that is, or next month. I don't remember when it is, but it's soon. And yeah, it seems like it's a lot of creative energy going on in North Carolina for sure, you know. But yeah, man. Well, look, man, I gotta dip, and I appreciate you guys having me, man. It's super cool getting to know you guys and talk about the show. I appreciate you for the platform, and you know, can't wait to see what you guys do next.
Man, we hope to get a season 2 from y'all.
We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out real soon. We got a couple things up our sleeves. We'll see how it plays out.
Definitely, man. And like I said, we are here for all of it. You know, whatever you need from us, we're here to lend that helping hand, man. And once again, you know, Rashidi, you know, shout out to, you know, the whole crew, you know, UWK Edward, you know, Malcolm, you know, Benny Floats, everybody, all the whole crew, man. I mean, thank you so much. Thank you.
No doubt, fellas. Thanks for having us and for spreading the word. You know, we're streaming on Hulu. Anyone who hasn't seen it, you could go over to Hulu and check it out. All 6 episodes will be streaming there whenever. So if you don't have it, you know, find somebody that got it, get that password. You know how we do it.
Yeah.
I think we got one call right quick. I think we got somebody for your back of the woods, T Max.
Okay, bring him in. 757.
757. You on?
Hello.
757. You on?
Hello.
This guy got shot.
Is that one of you guys saying hello, or?
Yeah, we gotta bring him in on the host too.
We're trying to bring somebody in before we close out, man. 757, you on?
757, you there with us?
Hey,
hello?
What's up?
Bezo, what it do, man? What's going on?
What it do?
What's going on, man? Hey,
what's going on? I figured 757. I got a 757 number, so I was like, okay, that must be me. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to listen and support, you know. But shout out, that was a great interview.
Thanks,
interview.
Man.
I was listening, you know. Yeah, man. So I'm just showing support because, you know, T-Mac and you always support my platform. So, you know, salute to both of y'all. You know what I mean?
No doubt,
definitely, man. Rashidi, this is a man right here that we need to put you in touch with, because this man right here is an exceptional interviewer. You know, the man of many talents who does it all, man. You and him need to link up.
What's your name, brother?
Oh man, I'm Bezo. You know, that's the street name. Real name is Brandon, but I'm Bezo. I'm a journalist. I've been doing journalism for, I want to say 15, 16 years. I've interviewed people from the West Coast, the East Coast. I've interviewed Dr. Dre's son, Corrupt, Daz, you know, Because I think you're from the West Coast. Am I right?
Yeah,
right
I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. I interviewed, quite a number of people, even Problem. I had him on my magazine cover back in the day. So,
Problem is great, man. It's a great dude.
Yeah, real cool dude. Which I'm trying to get again. But I heard your interview, man. It'd be dope. We could probably, set up an interview, man, and go from there and make it epic.
Thanks, man. Yeah, just reach out. We'll see what's going on, man. It's it's a lot happening trying to keep this career popping, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you though, Bezo. Did you have a question that you wanted to shoot off before I dip?
I guess for everybody, because you're in the industry and stuff. I mean, legacy wise, man. I mean, how can you create a legacy? Stay true to your art, or just become a gimmick. So I mean, how do you stay in the game for a long period of time? This period. Mm-hmm.
I think, for me, you do that one project at a time. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
I think you don't really focus on legacy or legend or any of that shit. I think you focus on how can I do the best work possible, and you just build from there. You know what I mean? Like for me, I haven't held a job. Well, I did have a job like 5 years ago, but like my first job that I really went in-house somewhere was in 2014, but I've been in this business since the early 90s. You know what I mean? So I've basically been on this tightrope my entire adult life working as a filmmaker. You know what I mean? Like, I've never done anything else except this because I'm committed to this and I'm passionate about it. And I'm it's not like I'm some single dude, like I'm raising a family. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got responsibilities, but it's like my passion for the work, I always put that first. And, man, you just do it one project at a time, man. Take it 1 month at a time, 1 year at a time, and you try to utilize the relationships and the network that you build to, to just do great work. And then you stay committed to that. And that's what it is. But I was going to say, me having a job, the first job I had was at Apple, and that was crazy to me. Like when Apple bought Beats and they merged companies, Dr. Dre put me in place to be the liaison between him and his creativity and Apple and what they wanted to do with his creativity. And so I wound up, for the first time in my life, being in a corporate situation and having a check every week. And it's it wasn't until then that I realized, fuck, a check every week is kind of awesome. You know what I mean? It was it just took all this pressure off of me. I forgot, I was so in it that I forgot, I didn't forget, but I learned what it was like to not have to scramble. I've been scrambling my whole life trying to make shit happen,
Right.
But honestly, it's my preference. It was fun being at Apple for the time I was there, but that was the first job that I've had as an adult, since I started, really moving in the music video space and the directing space,
Got you. I think that's great. The key word of your answer right there is passion. And I think, passion, man, you got to go for your passion. If you don't like a certain situation and it's something that you love to do, passion is where it is. You're going to get them bumps and scrapes. You're going to go through some stuff. You're going to go through some shit, excuse my language. But at the end of it all, it's all the it's just passion. So definitely, awesome. That's amazing. That is amazing.
Definitely.
That's what it is.
Oh yeah.
It's been great.
Yes, I'm going to
great building with you,
this
brothers,
information on. Definitely, I'm going to pass this information on to you, Rashidi. So you and him can chop that up in terms of, y'all set a date, man. But I mean, in terms of doing something. But yeah, man, I mean, but like you said, and it could be said better. I mean, what we do, we scramble, we hustle, but we all got to make shit happen. And by the grace of God, we do. And we're going to keep doing it.
Yeah. That's what's up. Well, thanks for having me, guys. Definitely appreciate the time. And B, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Brandon, right? Brandon, just reach out, man, and we'll try to figure it out,
Yes, sir.
All right, cool.
All right.
That's what it is.
All right,
man.
folks, take it easy.
All right,
man. Y'all too, man.
Be safe.
All right,
sir.
peace.
Peace.